And I want to welcome you to another episode of Beyond the Surface Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. This afternoon, I want to talk to you about promises, the things that have been promised to you, and they are so ever present in your spirit. The only way to achieve them is that you literally have to press. And so a while ago, there was a friend that inspired me. He became a friend. He inspired me to consider teaching abroad. And now I'm at the last few weeks of that coming into fruition. And at some point in our exchange, he shared scripture with me. And he took me to Genesis 12. And he actually directed me to Genesis 12:3-5. But the Lord directed me to Genesis 1-3. And it reads, "Now the Lord said unto Abraham, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And thee shall all families of the earth be blessed." I'm leaving Chicago to go to the other side of the world. If it's not South Africa, which was the original intent to go and do a sort of volunteerism for 2 months, give back to that country, to those young people at this particular school, through counseling and poetry writing and whatever other uses the school may have wanted for me. I was open to giving them all that I could give them freely. I recently applied for a position in Ghana. I went through 3 rounds of interview, 2 of which was really having to answer questions and submit artifacts. The third, which was a Skype interview that lasted close to 2 hours. And it was no small deal. I mean, it was intense and long and uncomfortable because you're dealing with technology and you're nervous and you don't realize how nervous you are till it's over and your body is tight and it unwinds. And so whether it's South Africa or Ghana, it doesn't matter. The same God that stirred Abraham has stirred me. Now, I began this podcast talking to you about the press. Okay, pressing through to get to the promise. This is not an accident that my friend, the Ghanaian, planted this seed in me. This is something that God already decided a long time ago, that as I climbed the academic and educational ladder, that at some point the campus, the course room, the classroom would be too small for me. I have another friend, a Nigerian that lives in Canada, who said to me, the truth is the classroom that teaching at a college campus may simply not be the platform I need anymore, that I may need a larger landscape. And I thought, wow, what is larger than global? What is larger than getting on a plane and being willing to fly for a whole day to get to the other side of the world, to share your gifts, your skill sets, your talent, and to learn to become a student yourself and walk into a newness of what it means to acquire new knowledge and then be able to apply it someplace else. So this is the gift that's going to keep on giving. But in order to get it, I most certainly have to press. I am 3rd year living in poverty. And my poverty is not the next man's poverty. So I don't want to over sensationalize that. But from where I lived, let's say in '08, how I was living in '08, it's been a substantial drop. So I went from 90,000 to 50,000 to 30,000. And this year I actually earned, I think it was 18,000. And that's a lot. That's a huge hit. Now, in the meantime, God has sustained me through all of it. And I've done various jobs. I tutor, I do consulting work, I babysit, I've driven for Uber and Lyft. There's no shame in my game as long as it's a clean hustle and I can take care of my family. I will do that. I don't have a problem with that. But I've had to press through the sadness, the depression, the frustration that you get to a doctoral level and you're actually working 3 to 4 times harder than you was when you, say, had a bachelor's or a master's. I've had to make peace with that. I've had to make peace with being in a marital unit where my spouse is not responding to the poverty. So I had this incredible discussion with my son, and I said, listen, part of the reason I'm excited about going to Africa is that I'm sick of being in poverty. Like, I don't want another year of it. Like, I'm not comfortable with it. And I said, I finally looked at my husband and realized, I said, he's actually okay with it. And he said, Mom, let me correct you. He's not in poverty. You are. He's comfortable because even this state of living is a come up from how he was living prior to uniting with you. So you have it wrong. You're the only person that this whole living situation is bothering. So, and I've heard him use certain phrases that frustrate me. Trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, just trying to make ends meet. It's rough out here, I'm just trying to pick up some tools and fuse. And I'm just like, why not take on the challenge of doing something so drastically different to change your circumstances instead of settling in talking about, I'm just trying to get some tools and fuse, as if that fixes something. So it's a lot to press through. The truth is, where I'm at financially, with the responsibilities I have, I'm smashed between a senior, 2-time cancer surviving parent that's in the home with me, and a baby, a 5.5-year-old daughter who is a sweetheart, but she's a dependent. I have 2 dependents, no savings, no stocks, no bonds, no 401k, no, I got some good assets because when I did have money, I was a smart girl, I own my home, I own a car, I have those things, but I don't have any liquid cash. I don't have any great capital. I really shouldn't even be talking about Africa. And in the midst of this seed being planted inside of me and me getting thirsty and hungry and getting this strong desire to go, God has sent such incredible angels to help push and support and prop me up when I feel like my legs are getting weak. An incredible gentleman, and I won't embarrass people using their names, but he's from Detroit. He sent me a message, and he said, I want to support you. I don't like GoFundMe, but I'd like to send you something, in order to mail you a money order to help with your cause. I want to see you succeed. So he sent it to me. I gave him my address, and he sent it to me. And I was so overwhelmed by the gift because here I am in my marital unit. My husband had only placed $10 on the GoFundMe account and pretty much had to be told to do that. And here's this gentleman somewhere that I've never met, never had a cup of coffee with. We hadn't even, other than just like responding to each other's posts, had never even had a dialogue on the phone or anything. And it got pressed on his heart to support me that way. Now, he's one of several people that have literally blown 2 locks out my head, and I had to pick them up and crazy glue them back in. That's how shocked I was to support me. Everything from just incredible prayers, folks who I thought I wasn't speaking to, hadn't seen, other folks surprise you and stick up later, people suggesting fundraising activities. I have a mentee that paid for me and my daughter's shots, so to make sure that he covered our shots. Pressing through, even when it looks like it is impossible. And remembering that in the word impossible, the core of that is possible. That all of this, if you know you have been promised something, you have to press. And part of that pressing will reignite your faith, particularly if you feel like your faith is kind of on crutches. Not dead, a little dormant, but definitely on crutches. So this was just a quick note because I said, here I am. I'm sitting in this hotel room in Washington, D.C., and I'm speaking on behalf of contingent faculty. What's happening with adjunct faculty? What's happening with professionals and how that corporate model is destroying incomes and putting professionals and intellectuals on a poverty wage, barely able to feed themselves. And Friday, this weekend I'll be in Detroit, different organization, doing a similar thing. And from this whole experience, lots of people have been calling me out and asking me to speak, and most of it's, sort of pro bono. Some of it is an airfare or the hotel room, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What's happening is the universe, that universal God is responding, and he's saying, look, I have work to do. You are not done. I need you to press through you. I need you to get out your way. I got stuff I want you to do. I got someplace I want you to be. And it may not be here in Chicago. And yes, you're going to have to lose and leave some folks behind that you're used to kind of using as the scapegoat of why you can't do things and letting them get in the way of what I promised you and what I told you to do. I recently took the difficult choice. I made the difficult choice to file for divorce. And part of that decision was looking at life. If you're partnered with someone and they're choosing a life that takes you into darkness or cannot lead you out of darkness, it goes back to Scripture. What does light and darkness have in common? Nothing. If you can't be the light and pull that person out of darkness, it is not your job to go into darkness with them. That's not what God called you to do. So I've had to press and say, hey, look, this unit cannot stand. This unit can't stand because what you're yoked to separately will kill me, will kill my spirit, will kill us. It's getting in way of what's been promised. So much is going on in preparation to making this move. Now, everybody is saying that I'm going to get this position in Ghana. They're far more confident. I'm trying to stay neutral because it is going to be a house shaker. The window to leave is short, 30 days. What I'm leaving behind, I'm leaving my 2 cats that I love. But more importantly, I'm leaving my mother. And there's that little fear, like, what if I get all the way over in Ghana and my mother dies? No one wants to talk about death, but you can't talk about life and not talk about death. I think about that long plane ride. I think about the heat. I think about bugs. I said, what if they got bugs the size of Matchbox cars? What am I going to do? And then I think about the beauty. I think about the beauty of being in such a beautiful country. I think about the adventure of it all and the landscape and the naturalness of it. I think about having learned I'm 86% sub-Saharan African and wanting to know what that's like. I think about leaving America and finally standing someplace and not looking through an American lens and what that means to me. I think about change. And it's all scary and I'm pressing through a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm going. It's already been written. It's nothing I could do about it. I can stop battling it. It's already been written. You know your promises, people. You can feel it. You know it. What God has promised you. Are you pressing or are you giving up? I want you to press. I want you to imagine that I've reached my right hand out in friendship and I've grabbed yours and we doing this thing together. When I got on the plane today, and I want to wrap up with this, it's the first time I've gotten on a plane, I want to say in about 8 years. Normally I'm scared, and when the plane was taking off, I wasn't scared. All I said was, God, I want to soar like eagles. Take me above these clouds. I want to soar like eagles. Take me above these clouds. Take me above all the minutia and allow me just to soar. Let me see what you have for me, God. Let me touch and taste a bit of heaven while I'm still here. We must press. You've been listening to Beyond the Surface Radio, and I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. And until we meet again, be safe in God's grace.